Welcome to Masterclass Wrestling with Class. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Stand with Delirium.
Produced by Victoire, the Masters of Wrestling gives a special thanks to Jesse Hernandez and the EWF, Empire Wrestling Federation, and to each of you, our loyal viewers. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back, students, to another episode of Masterclass. And are you going to get an education today? I'm one of your co-stars, the Master Amir, 1/3 of Delirium, joined by my co-star, ladies and gentlemen. He is the 2/3 of Delirium. He is McCallion. McCallion, how are you feeling today? I know you were upset.
Angry as usual, but I'll try to calm down. It looks like we lost our we're back in there. But first and most importantly, Master, we need everyone out there watching to punish that subscribe button, like this video, and go check out all the other videos of the Masters of Wrestling.
That's right. Make sure that you do subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos. Unfortunately, the third member of Delirium, Slade, cannot be with us today. We sent him out on another mission. We know we keep sending him. He's always on a mission. We can never see him. But nonetheless, we do have our third. We have a guest, this very special guest this week, ladies and gentlemen. He is a former WWE Tag Team Champion. He is Mr. Paul London. Paul.
Hello. Thank you for having me. No, thanks, guys. This was a treat.
Yeah, and it's a treat. It's a treat for us because you're out and about. This is going to be the most interactive podcast we've ever done. Where are you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll be doing much perusing here, but we'll see. You know, I will be on the go because I just realized this chair is all wrong. This armoire is all wrong.
No, not as comfortable as one thought, huh?
Yeah.
You lose energy when you're seated. Y'all know this.
True.
Yes.
You lose energy. I'm not saying
right now we're both on the treadmill. We don't look like it, but we're moving.
Yeah. Like what people don't realize is that beneath the camera, both of you are doing extensive pedaling on mini bikes just to keep the energy flow because of such an issue.
Bikes, sponsorship, isn't that sponsorship we got from Peloton? I think they sent these bikes.
Oh, that's right. Peloton knows where it's at for you sitters.
Yeah, we've also got a couple of dumbbells here. McCallion, you want to show that stunning arm of yours right there? Let the viewers see what you're doing.
We'll keep it for at the half show, you know.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh man, I'm the dumbest of all bells. Don't you worry.
So Paul, first of all, London, is that your last name? Is that a wrestling gimmick name?
No, that's my real name. It's funny, I like showing people my ID or my passport with my address covered up, but because I haven't gotten that question in a while, to be honest with you, but it's one that I would get quite often because they would think it was a stage name, but it's just my real name, Paul London. And it's funny because my middle name is Michael. And so, speaking of Michael, I think he's right there. He's still alive.
Oh,
I want to just let him remain.
Is that Jackson?
Yeah.
I'm still let him remain in anonymity as he tries to go back to the future.
That's right.
I'll probably just stay in the past. I'm not sure. But so my initials are PML, and my name is Paul Michael London. Well, Triple H's name is Paul Michael Levesque.
Mm-hmm.
And so for quite a while on international tours, I would get these insane suites. Yeah. Like I remember in South Africa in Cape Town, which was the first stop there, I had this, it was like an outdoor cabana suite. It was like an elliptical machine in the corner and this massive bed, but it was like outside and away from everybody. It was insane. And guys would come over and they'd be like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Well, yours aren't like this either."
Yeah.
So then I was getting these insane suites, and it was bizarre. And then I remember one instance, I was walking down the hall.
Champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Styling, Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show.
One instance, I was walking down the hallway, and Hunter was walking down the hallway, and he passes me a little nod. And he turns around, and I just hear this, "How do you like those sweets, London?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh," and it made sense in my head. And what was happening was,
Oh no!
I was getting checked into his room. They saw Paul Michael London, and they just were like, "Oh la la, that must be how it's spelled in English, even though it's a French last name."
Oh no!
Yeah, but that might have been why I was on the losing end of things. I'm not sure. He said it was no big deal, but he's obviously full of shit.
They were putting him in the single beds, bro. They were putting him in the little closet room.
Yeah, and you know, he says, "Oh, don't worry about it." You know, it's kind of like, "You'll never win."
Damn.
You know, so that's my name backfiring.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah.
And here we are outside of the Focus Hair Studio. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
I want to focus on their business instead of eating. But yeah, Paul London is my real name.
Yeah.
I had a manager in acting who wanted to really kind of mold me into what she thought was going to be marketable. I don't know. She had good. I was getting good audition. It's like she's this older woman, probably in her 60s or something, and she's the one who got me the audition. Like I got in the room for Superman Returns, for Superman.
Yeah.
I had quite a lot of some good, solid auditions.
Yeah.
Is
that the latest? Is that the latest Superman, Paul? This 06.
No, this was the Brandon Routh one.
Okay.
Which, in retrospect, funny enough, dodging a bullet.
Yeah.
Because that was directed by Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
So who knows? I might be wearing diapers right now.
Yeah, you'd be traumatized right now.
Yeah. Or I'd be in jail.
One or the other. Yeah, you could have gone down that path. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what were your thoughts about that? I mean, the original Superman, by the way, because I'm a big Christopher Reeve mark. I love the original Superman movies. What do you think of those?
I love Rich Donner is a very underrated filmmaker who doesn't get loved, and I like to call him Dick Donner. It just kind of rolls on better. But yeah. I love those films. That's what I grew up on. I grew up on that John Williams score, the Superman March. Gene Hackman was my Lex Luthor. I loved Super Friends, the cartoon, as well. I absolutely loved that cartoon because it was expanding on these characters that I only really got to see in comic books.
Yeah.
And so Superman, as a film, that was my introduction to Christopher Reeve. I had seen him in, is it Somewhere in Time?
Yeah, Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
I saw him in that. There's a drama, of course. But I one of my favorite Christopher Reeves, probably my favorite Christopher Reeve movie outside of the Superman realm would be Street Smart.
I believe I've seen that one.
Oh man, yeah, Smart is incredible, and it stars Christopher Reeve. Kathy Baker's in this film as a prostitute. It's essentially Christopher Reeve is a journalist who hasn't had a hit story. He's been floundering, and so they threatened to fire him at the Daily Planet. No, it is not the Daily Planet, but. So he fabricates this story about a pimp, and it turns out it matches the real life of this real pimp so much that the pimp thinks that he's like an insider or like a stooge. And the pimp is played by Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman, if I'm not mistaken, won an Academy Award for this movie. Wow. He was definitely nominated. He was certainly nominated. Okay. And we're talking 1989, maybe. So the reason you probably never or aren't familiar with it is because it was made by Canon.
Oh, yeah.
And it was made as a deal where it was Street Smart was Christopher Reeve's passion project, right? It was his, this was his, like, oh, this is, I get to be this journalist, and it's like a drama. And you have Miles Davis on the score is like this sax jazz, like it's very noir feel to the movie. It's very grim, but it was produced by Canon, and that was the deal. And this film got made, and the deal was, we'll produce this movie for you and make this movie if you do Superman 4.
Oh yeah,
because he didn't want to do Quest for Peace.
Right. Yeah, that one was a little bit.
Yeah, he was spiritually checked out. Yeah. I think 3 did a battering on him, even though 3 is my guilty pleasure favorite in a way.
Let me jump in on that one. So I want to bring McCallion in. McCallion, you seen Superman 3 when he faces himself?
I can't. I don't think I've seen the original.
Oh man, dude,
you're missing something, dude. You're missing.
Yeah,
something.
You're a Richard Pryor fan.
Richard Pryor.
I liked Richard Pryor. Yes.
Then you'll love Superman 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to,
you know what else in Superman 3 is oh man, I'm blanking on his name now. I'm sorry for even saying it.
The villain?
No, he plays the cop from the old town, but he was also in Willow. His father played the evil factory owner in Halloween 3. It'll come to me, but he was a great actor as well. Him and his father. His dad, Dan O'Harely was the old man from Halloween 3. He was also the head of the corporation in RoboCop. His son, Gavin O'Harely. He's like a red-haired type guy, but he plays like the Viking friend of Val Kilmer and Willow.
Okay.
But yeah, he plays the cop from Smallville in Superman 3, and he's really good in this in a smaller role. But Superman 3 is great, man.
It is great. A lot of
people not seen it.
I know, Bacallion. Come on,
I lean more towards the Marvel arm. So DC is just not my cup of tea. I've watched all
Marvel.
the Nolan. That was it.
He's a Marvel guy here.
Okay, well, what about prior to this superhero over resurgence spunk out of the last decade and a half, whatever, 20 years, I don't know. What was your experience with superhero films prior to that? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, McCallion, what was that?
I think I just kept it more towards the cartoons and the comics. So I didn't really watch the old school. I mean, I watched Tim Burton's like Batman, that one. The Batman
thank you.
More stuff.
I was about to say, I was like, you had to have watched that at least.
Yeah.
That's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That is. And the score, coming back to scores, that's when they knew to make scores back then. Yeah.
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 I'm all about the scores.
Yeah.
I think that there's not enough classical music played in the world. I don't think there's enough utilization of scores. I feel that if you played classical music in gyms, I think people would get different results.
I see that.
I don't know. There's just something to it that I think.
Well, there's especially when it's orchestral. Like I think of the Highlander theme. McCallion, tell me you've seen the Highlander.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so the Highlander, and even when they have those epic strings and those horns and what have you, it create like Braveheart. That's another good example.
I think it operates different levels of your brain, like wavelengths that trigger different feelings, and instead of just
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that plays into the Mozart effect as well, right? The studies on
babies,
the baby, if you have them listening to Mozart, or I think it applies to any classical music.
Yeah.
Because how's a baby going to be like, oh, that's Mozart?
Yeah.
I think it's the healthiest music. I think music without lyrics is the healthiest music. I prefer music without lyrics. I love songs, I love bands, don't get me wrong, but I will 8 to 9 times out of 10 veer towards something that might not have lyrics.
To chime in, is that how you got I did a show with you back in like 2010, and this was at Long Beach Comic Con, I believe. And you came out with you came out with the what's it called? Symphony Number 5 or something?
Oh, yeah, that was like the disco version. Yeah. See, with scores, with orchestrations, with synth, I love synth music. Not in like the hipster way, but just in the same way that I love scores, in that great music makes you feel something. You don't really have a choice. And in that feeling, even if you're not like, oh, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? It'll spark imagery in your mind. You'll think of something, and it might remind you of something. It might put you in a certain type of mood, but it won't manipulate your thoughts by telling you what this is about, or telling you this. And not to say these songs aren't about something, obviously they are, but without the without the guidelines of lyrics, you're able to let your emotion and your mind run free with whatever the music does to you.
Yeah.
And so that's really ultimately why I prefer it. I can fall asleep to it. I just think it's it's the most powerful, one of the most powerful mediums that there is. It's healthy. It's really healthy. That's, it's like you said, Long Beach. I listened to was it 88.1 or 88.7, whatever that jazz station is out of Long Beach. And I think they call it like the anti road rage music or something. And because I love jazz as well. Yeah, I mean, this is music that can be very therapeutic.
Oh yeah,
and very inspiring.
Yeah, for sure, therapeutic. And I think, like you said, Paul, other music's fine, music with lyrics and stuff like that. But yet some of them are specifically designed to put forth messages. We know that now. It's been exposed.
It's like a subconscious too. I mean, you're repeating the words. It's going in your brain, even if it's not intentional.
Right. And it can affect.
They felt like telling that story via song. They still want to via story.
What was that, Paul? You broke up there a bit.
I said, even if it's like, oh, well, this song is like narrative. It's telling a story about this and that. It's like, well, they're still telling it for a reason in song form to convey some sort of message, even if it's just to get a laugh.
Right.
It's not to say that it's political all the time, but without lyrics saying, oh, and then Johnny went down to the school and blah, blah, whatever it is. Like, okay, oh, I'm thinking about Judge Scott going down to the school. No, just let your emotions.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
Then it's more unique to you.
Yeah. I saw a video about 6 months ago or whatnot with this test. They blasted certain musics at water. McCallie, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. So they blasted certain music, rock music, heavy metal music, classical music at water. And when the music hits, the vibrations change the shape of the water. And when it's heavy metal or rock, it's very disgusting looking. It actually looks like demonic. But then
Where
when it's classical
was it,
music, was
was it
that
shot from underneath? Was it shot from underneath or over top? Like, where are you? Like, what's the image of what it's doing to the water? Is it from above
it's I
or
think
under?
no, it was literally like I think it was like in a glass or something from what I remember. I'll probably find it and I'll text it to you, Paul. But
Please, please.
it showed the water. So when you play the classical music, the water's at peace and it creates these beautiful shapes inside the water. So it's true because I've often said for years, if you stick somebody in a room and they constantly watch action movies, eventually you're going to breed a very angry person. But if you stick them in a room and you've got a little bit of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of drama, something else more pleasant, you're going to have a more even keel individual that's going to come out of there. I mean, I don't know. That's just my thinking. Who am I?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's trial and error. I think it's, there's obviously times when you might be like heartbroken, and certain songs are very soothing for that.
Yeah.
That's another reason I'm a proponent of songs without lyrics, because somewhere someone has put a similar emotion into that music. They just didn't put lyrics to it, but the emotion is still there.
Yeah.
So you can still find it to soothe you, without getting imagery or ideas in your head that might be worse and
Yeah.
harmful to you or somebody else.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Bringing that into, we'll touch a little bit in pro wrestling, but then we'll come back to other topics. But coming back to that original scores. So in the past 20 years or more now, I think what 22 years, 23, maybe 25 years, the WWE and all of them got away from original scores for their pay-per-views and for their shows. And now it's just a mishmash of whatever, and it doesn't really fit. Like I see some episodes of certain shows and it's supposed to be a hard-hitting action-packed show, but yet they've got hip-hop music playing at the beginning. I'm like, what's the disconnect here? What is this? Callie, and I see you nodding over there. You see
Yeah,
where I'm
all I can think about is it's money related, is from what it feels like, and trying to base into what the current, generation's into,
yeah.
but it doesn't fit the bill of the image of what they built and the sport we know it as.
No, no. Paul, what's your take on that? What do you think? False step on their
I
part?
agree. Just trying to appeal, uh, losing sight of what's the soul of, you know, what I don't know, just, yeah, the soul of it, the soul of it. Wrestling is so soulless right now, in my opinion. Uh, and oddly, there's a reason it's making gross amounts of money,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. And I know people are, oh my God, like go touch some grass or something. Like I rub my face in grass, compared to most of these crazy neckbeards that like to say that people need to go look at clouds. I live in the clouds. I live outside. I try to stay off the device.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in a dead mall.
Right.
Um, that's why I have squirrel
A
scars all
lovely
over my
dead mall,
body.
Paul. A lovely dead
That's
mall.
right. That's right. That's right. With wonderful green foliage that never needs to be watered.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but no, I agree. It comes down to money. It
Yeah.
comes down to money. Did you ever see North Shore? It's like a surfing movie.
I've heard of the North Shore.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Was it a
So like,
program?
no, it was a film. It was a movie from the 80s. And Laird Hamilton plays like the villain, but there's like this surfer in Arizona, and he goes to Hawaii because he wants to become this big wave surfer. But he's got this art scholarship, and his mom's like, "You have to go to college," and he's like, "No, I'm gonna go to Hawaii and be a big surfer." And he goes to Hawaii and like gets wrecked, right? Like all those surfers there are like, "You get out of here, mainlander! You're dangerous, Howley," and they like call him all these names and stuff. and then he meets this old guru type surfer who's like, that's all a bunch of bullshit. Like, those people are just trying to get money. They're just about magazines. They just care about the glam and the glitz. They have no soul. They're not soul surfers.
Mm-hmm.
And Gregory Harrison plays the guru Chandler, he's like, I'll train you under one condition. Like, you do anything I say. And so he learns how to surf using like this string of boards that are like, they start off very archaic and heavy, and one has like no paddle on it, like no fin on it. Like, so he has to learn, and then he learns the ways of like the soul surfer, and then he wants to compete in this tournament, but it's against what they believe in. It's an awesome movie from the 80s. It's called North Shore. And the reason I mention that is because so much of what I see now, it's soulless.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that doesn't occur on the house shows, because I don't go to the house shows. But in terms of when you have to fit into a slot for television to account for commercials, to account for advertisements. I mean, how they have advertisements on the mat now, it's just, it's very unwatchable. Mm-hmm. There's no soul to it. Mm-hmm. I was shocked they brought back, I think, maybe the metal guardrails for some look of something.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But it just was that's not, you're focusing on the wrong stuff. Mm-hmm. The work is all still over memorized. The work is all, the characters are still all over rehearsed. Mm-hmm. For the most part. There's very few soul workers, like just going off a feel.
You know what? It's amazing. It's amazing you say that, Paul, because for a long time, we're always trying to search for what is that magic that's missing. And I think he found it, McCallie. And I think it's the soul, because again, if you've got people trying to attain something, like you said, Paul, for fame or fortune, glitz and glamour and stuff like that, there's no soul in that. There's nothing, there's no tangible. And that's what makes the difference. That's why characters were remembered from 40 years ago. There was a soul, there was a passion. I was watching something on Rick Rude the other night. That man was passionate about what he did, right? And that's why we still remember him to this day.
You felt what he did. You felt what he said. You felt the insults, even if you weren't some Cincinnati sweat hog.
Right.
Like, you chuckled, because you're like, oh man, what a burn. Like, you could feel his disdain for these people, even in his words.
Yeah.
But especially with aggression. Wrestlers back then felt it because they still believed in it. They believed in it. It was still real to them.
Yeah.
It is still real to me.
Yeah.
Kayfabe existed. Mm-hmm. Now it's kayfabe is like looked at as like a cult favorite genre, like, or it's like looked at as like some sort of subcategory, like method acting or something. Like a style. You do kayfabe. So yesterday, that's out of date. Like, nobody does it. Kayfabe's dead. Like, no, you are a weak, lazy, passionless, just like casual, who lacks the commitment to invest in such an artistry. Because with the advent of technology advancing at such a rapid rate and everything being so attainable so quickly, whether it's your food or a Funko Pop delivered overnight or whatever, right there, you can look it up online, blah, 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 immediate. And so very little is earned. Mm-hmm. And in retrospect, so very little is appreciated because it wasn't difficult to attain.
Right.
Does that make sense? And
that makes perfect sense. I happened to see in the background this morning, one of the TVs was playing in one of the guest room, and the Beastmaster came on. Remember that movie, Paul? The Beastmaster?
Yeah, Don Coscarelli. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So Rip Torn was in it. A younger Rip Torn was in it as well.
Yeah, is it Mark Singer?
Yes, Mark Singer. I was in it.
Fellow Texan, rest in peace.
McCallie, you seen the Beastmaster?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Italian, have you seen the other Rip Torn classic known as Dolly Dearest?
I haven't seen Dolly Dearest. No.
but you have seen Dodgeball. No,
Of
he's
course, I've seen
Yeah.
Dodgeball.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, check out Dolly Dearest. Will you? Okay, this is like a 1989, 90, somewhere in there, maybe 91 attempt at a female Chucky. And it's terrifying.
Dolly,
Takes place in
okay.
Mexico. Evil demonic Mexican demon takes over this doll factory. It takes over this doll. But it's creepy, dude. And Rip Torn's in it.
Yeah. Yeah. But like coming back to that movie, like I said, I was watching the opening credits of it, right? Simple, yet the imagery, you could tell somebody actually went out there, actually did some photography, actually spent time then touching up. What was it, that photorealism that they used to do? It looked like photorealism where they paint over the image that they'd already
Matte painting.
Yes, where they would paint over, they would take the photograph. But like now, when you see the opening to a movie or whatever it is, a wrestling show, it's all especially this AI. Don't even get me started on AI. I am not.
Wait, what? They're using AI on Raw and on WWE?
I'm sure that they're starting to. McCallion, come
Why
on.
wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They did it specifically for the Chad Gable gimmick because of him playing the multiple characters. I don't know if they're using it for creation of reels and opening packages.
No, but I mean in movies though. In movies.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
I mean, well, a lot of places will try to say now, even with the video games, they'll say something like, "Just so you know, AI wasn't used to create
Right.
90% of it." So you're saying, okay, so 10%.
Yeah.
What
Do we
what
have
is
to
the
believe
10%?
that? Do we have to believe that?
I
How are
know
we to
that's the
believe
other
that?
thing. They're straight telling you that we used it. That's what they're saying. But they're
Yeah.
trying to tell you, well, it's a high percentage of not being used.
Yeah.
I have a film. I have a film for you, gentlemen. You might find it boring, but I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was beautiful. It was. I loved it. Willem Dafoe's in it. Emma Watson. Uh, Finn, whatever the hell his name is from Stranger Things. I don't know. I've never seen it, but he's in it. But it's called
The what? Oh dear, we lost
Oh,
him.
he
Right?
froze right on the moment.
You froze right there, Paul. Can you hear us? He's froze.
Dang,
All right,
right
so
at the moment.
right, he was.
Right at the reveal.
Paul,
You
froze.
disappeared.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now it's better.
Okay, yeah, it's called The Legend of Yoshi. And everything's practical and in camera, like a little monkey like puppet creature thing. It's a fantasy type film, but it's fun and everything's in camera.
Yeah.
And there's even a moment where you can see, like, okay, it's obviously a puppet, but like it's so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
And I think it's an A24 film.
Okay.
Obviously, if Willem Dafoe's in it.
Yeah,
But-
no, I know. Trust it
Yeah,
already.
the legend of the Ochi.
The Legend of the Ochi. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? That's got to be in current times, like within.
Last year. It just came out this year.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
good.
So I think there is a hunger and a drive and a need, certainly a need, but I think growing desire, rapidly growing desire to instill effects in cinema. It's just better. You know, CGI is it's the highest grade of film preservatives.
Mhm.
I mean, they've literally brought back Christopher Reeve for whatever that. But I don't know. I didn't watch it, but you know, they literally had Nicolas Cage, Batman, or Superman. They, you know, I don't know what they had, but you know what I'm talking about. Like
That was for the Flash movie, right?
yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm caught up on the current stuff, just so you know. Even if I'm not the biggest DC guy, I've watched it, yeah. But yes.
But I mean, like, you go to the Christopher Reeve estate to get permission for that? Like, is that going to be
that's what they said. They had to touch base with family for that. But it's creepy. It's them just making money off of it. You know, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Making money off of it, you know, and like when I think about it, it's like you think of when I see WWE produce or announce, you know, the Macho Man thing or the Warrior thing, I'm like, who's getting the money for that.
Right.
Yeah.
For these deceased past legends, are you telling me this is going into something like a college fund for their children? Then I'm
Right.
kind of on board with if the proceeds go to that. But like, you never hear any of that. It's just what property do we own that we can milk some money off of or dust off and milk some money off of, that there will be little to no retribution, that we will owe little to nothing to.
Well,
That's how I.
yeah, yeah, and the perturbing thing is what happens when you get to that point? Because I contemplated it yesterday. We had a friend over, and I was talking about the youth of today, and I said the more and more when you speak to these young kids now, their conversation is dwindling. They have less and less and less to say and talk about because they're having no real life experiences anymore. Everything's on their phone. So they're not even really talking to each other anymore. So who's to say that in 20 years when AI is way advanced and they say, okay, well, we don't got any actors anymore because these kids can't think, they can't really do anything. So let's just resurrect everybody from the past. And then and they could do it in wrestling too. You could quite conceivably think about this, gentlemen. You get all these sponsors and you can generate all the stars from the 80s and it looks for real, a whole storyline. You don't need crowds anymore because you're just making your money off sponsors and TV deals. Boom, and that's it. That's your wrestling.
That's it. And as long as people tune in or pay for a subscription where it's attached to, then the money's being profited. Like that's it. The money's pouring in.
It's
Isn't that basically what AEW is?
What was that?
Isn't AEW basically the live action AI bullshit? Because the crowds are dwindling, they're seeing through this artificial form of fighting, which is bullshit, right? Like somebody gets dumped on their head and they're not paralyzed and they're nipping up, and it's like, what is this? I know this person isn't an actual superhero, so now I'm being led to believe they are. I feel like an idiot. That's why people are tuning out, because fans are smarter than you think. And when stuff is just so stupid and you can't share it with somebody because it's embarrassing, then you're going to just drift away from it.
I'll
And
say it's sad that this stuff was ever approved to get to the level that we are now. Like you said, to go back on something that was devastating 10 years ago. I mean, heck, even a DDT, used to be a finish. But then the fact that you make this move a falsie, you make this move where you can kick out of it more and more easy. You can hit it in the beginning of a match. Now you've watered that down. Okay, you can't use it anymore in the capacity that it was designed for. Now what do you do? And like you said, these other guys are just becoming more gymnastic like, where it's like they want
I'll tell you what you do. You sell it. You sell the damn move. You sell it. Because the thing is, the people will believe what we tell them to believe. You have to commit to selling the damn move. And the reason you have all these guys, and mind you, when I was starting out, people were like, oh, he's like a flippy guy and this and that. I was like, no. The difference is I sold. That's why I've had a career. That's why I had a career working for somebody who despised me, wrote a line through my name every time my name was presented on the show. There was SmackDown or Raw, would write a line right through my name. Is the first thing he would do.
Yeah.
I got a job working for that prick through sell, because I could sell. And so that's the difference. When people are like, oh, he was a flippy guy. No, I acknowledge things registered. The reason there are so many, the reason the business is morphed into what it is now, and I've said this in the past, but it's a combination of things. The business is full of gremlins now. There's very few mogwai. There's very few mogwai. The gremlins are very easy to replicate. You know what I mean? You dump them on water. They're unruly. They eat everything. They destroy things, but they multiply very quickly, right? If a mogwai gets dumped in water, it's just going to multiply more mogwais. Then you have to watch them. But once they turn into gremlins, it's like, Jesus, right? It's almost irreversible. So the reason we have so many goddamn gremlins in the wrestling business is because the wrestling business has willingly and partially not had a choice, because it's been overpopulated. It's abandoned its standards. It's abandoned its standards out of fear of cancellation, It's abandoned standards out of fear of not being labeled a hater or a bigot or this or that. It's abandoned its standards for all these reasons that tiptoe cancellation, right? So it's like now it's the business of like anyone can play, right? I'm surprised there isn't a wrestling school in this mall. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm surprised there isn't a drive-through wrestling school. And so what you have is, and I grew up on a trampoline, loved it. It was the closest thing I had to a ring. So that's what I did. But I still understood that it wasn't the ring. I still understood that it wasn't the ropes. I still understood that it wasn't taking bumps. I had a solid foundation in taking bumps because I have a martial arts background and I started martial arts as a child. So a lot of that plays into it with the break falls.
Paul, just to pause you for a second, there's a bump you took that I always reference. We just, me and Amir just had a show on Tuesday for Championship Wrestling TV tapings. And we were going to do I know when I mention it, you'll know what it is. We were going to do the clothesline on the apron. And that was, I said, tonight you're going to Paul London. And when I say that to anybody, everyone knows that moment with you and Snitsky, man, because you killed it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That was fun. That was my favorite event as a kid was the Royal Rumble.
Absolutely.
That was the first event
I agree.
I was exposed to in wrestling. Because I got exposed to wrestling through magazines, actually through WWF magazine when I was 10. And it was covering the 1990 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And so not knowing what it was from having not watched it before, my brain had to piece together these pictures. So fortunately it was the Royal Rumble. So I could see that like people were trying to tip people over.
Yeah.
And but I was just like, what are these gladiators, these glossy, wet nacho cheese film cover on the queso leathery, what are these gladiators? What is this? This is amazing. Face all this bullshit. And so I was hooked. But my mind kind of made sense of it, pieced it together. But then I started watching it, but it was through magazines. So then I would go to like all the half price bookstores, whatever, buy all the back issues of any pro wrestling magazine from like all the way up like down to the 70s, 80s. You find whatever, right? Yeah. And just read all of it, look at the pictures. I would make collages on my walls with any picture that I thought was, inspiring or whatever.
And that's that passion that you talk about. That's that passion. Like you were saying, the difference is you immersed yourself in the world. You studied it. I can't tell you how many guys now I talk to and I say, oh yeah, remember such and such? And they look at me with a blank expression.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's a weird time.
Gremlin,
like,
man.
why are
Gremlin
you
mentality
doing this? What makes you want to do this if you don't have the passion of what you've learned to see to want to replicate? Like,
right.
It's weird.
Exactly.
Bad parenting. They don't have good parenting. That's what I'm hearing. Because I don't know. There's something empty inside that they think a quick bout of fame. It's fool's gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fool's gold.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, you hit me so hard. And it's like, this is wrestling. Yeah. Go to the theater if you want to do theatrical slaps. If you want to slap for me. That's one of the things that irritates me the most. I go to give somebody some big old chop or a big kick or something, and they're slapping their leg for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That makes me hit you harder.
Right.
I don't need you to give me acoustics. I don't need your sound effects. I don't need your CGI bullshit. Get away from me with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't come chuckling and being my buddy outside when there's a bunch of marks outside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't hop online and get on Twitter and thank me for the match and blah blah. Like, I don't need that.
I hate that too, Paul. Yeah. I hate that visibility. Man, I had a banger tonight. Or the promos like, last time we wrestled, we almost annihilated each other. Like, don't do that. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other favorite is like I'm the top free agent. And I was like, oh yeah, who's your representative? Like, wait,
Yeah.
like, shut the fuck up.
So, needless to say, Paul, how do you conduct yourself when someone comes up to you and says, "Okay, Paul, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that"? You
I
just say,
pretend that I'm getting a call. I'm like, oh, and then I go away, and then I stay away from them. I'm not kidding.
yeah,
I find the promoter. I find out what they want, and then I just
yeah,
see out there,
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the thing with most of these. And I would say I'd go as far as to say I'd be willing to say 80% of the business, at least in America, um, and in lots of parts, really Europe, England. I mean, a lot of it suffers because they see this crap, a lot of it on TV, and they think that's how I need to work. Like that's psychology. You know what I mean? Like exchanging super kicks into a double clothesline, into an immediate double nip up, into a square off. Like that's badass. Whoa. Like no. Oh Jesus. Like I say this all the time on my seminars. Like how much crap is on TV? Just because it's on TV doesn't mean it's good.
mm-hmm.
You know? And so when you have Tony Cantana having the final say of stuff that he literally only knows from a Marx, and we're talking like message boards, fantasy leagues, like that kind of mark. That's extremely detrimental because now you are basically establishing a genre. I call it the video game genre because that's where a lot of these goofs get their inspiration from, is from video games and from anime, which I'm sitting here thinking, if you're going to watch anything like anime, it better be like hentai or something. And so, you know, Jesus Christ. But no, they're coming up with spots and ideas based on anime. And I'm saying, you still bleed. You still hurt. Like you can't blast fire out of your ass. Maybe you can. You know, you're blasting shit out of your mouth and out of your head with these ideas. And so it dumbs it down. It dumbs it down. And people have to look at it now as a cosplay performance.
Yeah, I think you know, yeah, a lot of them. And coming back to what you said, they take their inspiration from video games. And that we had on my other show, we had on Mike Chioda a few weeks ago.
Love Mike Chioda.
Yeah, great guy, man. Great guy, man. A wealth of knowledge. And he was saying that when you used to travel, right, you'd go out, you'd see the sights if you had time there, right? You'd get to know the culture. He said now towards the end, he would say to the guys, "Hey, you guys coming out?" They're like, "No, we're playing video games in the room." How are you going to get any life experience or ideas or none, nothing?
If you want to brag, see, these are the same people that refer to themselves as superstars, like WWE or AEW superstars when they're out in public. You know what I mean? And they'll be offended that people don't know who they are, right? Because that's the juice for them, not the life experience, not the seeing the Leaning Tower of Pisa, not seeing the Roman Colosseum, not chasing down a bunch of street urchins because they pickpocketed someone in your group.
Yeah.
You know, and real experience, you know, not almost getting arrested or getting arrested in a foreign country. You know, these are real wholesome experiences.
Yeah.
That to me, my WWE run was my real college experience. You know, like people are like, you go to college for like a life experience. I was like, no, I just went to college to have like a meal plan and somewhat of a backup and somewhere to sleep when I wasn't trying to get wrestling bookings. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. But yeah, I see what you mean. You know, it's a life experience thing. And we talked, in fact, McCallie, remember I was telling you, like, it's hard to imagine Rick Rude was only 39 when he passed. But he was so knowledgeable. Yeah. But you look at him, he's a man. He's not a man child, right?
You can say that for all these guys that passed at a young age, you know, Owen, Hennig. They will always in my head feel so much older than me. Like they'll always be older than me.
Yep. Same
With
here.
that Pillman.
Yeah.
Same thing. And it's just like Davy Boy. It's like I've outlived these guys.
Yeah.
But they'll always be older than me. And they'll always be men, you know, like fucking like these guys that you wouldn't want to cross
big, burly,
yeah. But now it's just like, you know, I'm actually here scouting for wrestlers.
Oh, you are?
That's the perfect place. That is a spot.
Exactly. You know, it's like the twink era. And so it's you know, if you look like you struggle with your shopping bag, or you struggle to give me like another scoop of ice cream, you certainly can't convince me that you have fighting spirit, you dork. You know, shut up.
That's what I always say. That I go into some of these locker rooms and it looks like they bag groceries, you know, outside of being the tonight's superstar that they are. It's wild.
That's the only gym. That's the only weightlifting they're doing. I'll tell you that. You know. So, and this guy's supposed to pick you up over his head and hit you with this cool move that he saw on some random stream of, you know, New Japan. It's nonsense. Yeah. And I think Japanese wrestling has a lot to blame for this current phase because of the anime, because of, you know, all this this upsurge, you know, K-pop and all this bullshit where, you know, the men have more makeup on than the girls, and everyone looks like a porcelain doll. You know, so it's become so dainty. You know, it's not the wrestling business that I associate with, and I certainly turn down any and all suggestions that might smell of that realm. And I try to stay away from that stuff. Now, I like to have fun, have a good time, and I'm certainly not walking around like, you know, like I'm some big badass. I know what I am. I know what my strengths are, and I know what I'm capable of doing. And I've had to adjust. But, you know, I'm also in my 25th, going into like my 26th year. And I enjoy the freedom of the adventure.
Yeah.
Like I'm so privileged. Like I've been to more countries than anyone in my family, with maybe the exception of my father. But I think even more than my father, and he's like Mr. World Traveler, man. Yeah. So it's enriched my life in ways that probably no other job would have.
And if we take a second, when Amir said about, you know, Mike Chioda said that these kids or workers go and they play the video games. It's such a rare opportunity, like you're saying, Paul, to get a job that not only allows you to travel, but privileges you to visit these places. And you're not going to go out and see that scenery of all these monuments and everything else that you would probably have no other chance of ever, you know, getting to see in your lifetime. It's a wild thought process.
It's true. I mean, when I was class in college at what is now Texas State, I took Japanese. I was Southwest Texas State at the time I went there. That's how old I am. Then it became Texas State, but I took Japanese there, and I'd never been to Japan yet, but I took Japanese I want it possible.
We lost you. We lost you, Paul.
Have a base. Oh, sorry.
We can hear you now. There? We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
I'm trying to find the Wi-Fi in the future. Yeah, but I took Japanese in college just so that I could prepare myself in the event that I would get there, and I knew that I was like, I'm going to get there even if I have to fly myself. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But what I have video games don't get released in the States. So it's like, no, I want to go to Japan and see the sites and see the different stores and see like the different shops and the different in the temples and the beauty, especially when you get to venture out.
Yeah.
You know, like Helen Renee the other day, one of the last times I was in Japan was for Noah, and I hurt my knee over there, and I was teaming with Zack Sabre Jr. He's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite wrestlers, and I hurt my knee that year ago. Zach and I to these like this hot springs in the mountains or something, and it's like nighttime, and we're in the mountain like on some cliffside, and some like natural hot spring. It probably did worse for my knee now that I think about it.
Like, just climbing.
But, yeah, but it was just, you know, so where else are you going to get naked with, you know, a bunch of Japanese, you know, mate and try to stay underwater while it's like super hot and you're just in the middle of the woods at night.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It's just life is all about the experience. It's all about the experience. And even if the experience is by yourself.
And it goes by so fast as we see, you know, it really does. It goes by quickly. And I think enriching yourself in life, and especially for a character in wrestling, for a wrestling career, you have to be a rich character. Otherwise, you can't be a character. You're flat. There's nothing to you at that point. And then also, I wanted your opinion, Paul, on because obviously, you know, there's a lot of kids watching what we do, right? And that's a big component to pro wrestling. It always has been. So again, you know, my belief, and I talk about this with McCallion, you know, you are a role model to this kid. You may not be aware of it, but that kid's looking at you and they're looking up to you. And I think it's imperative that we, again, if we're supposed to be these adults, that we act like them and we give them something to look at, just like we did, you know, like McCallion and Paul. We all looked up to the same guy.
Like how we all got hooked. We got hooked for that reason because we looked at these guys that were like he said, they were like just unearthly, you know?
Yep. So
yeah, they're gladiators. I think it's a borderline of role model and influence. I would never look at myself as like an influencer, more like influenza. But it is what it is. You know, like I'm extremely lucky to have, you know, I guess what people would call a platform or a medium that, you know, gets my thoughts or my this or that out there that people might want to listen to. You know, there's always stuff to complain about, but I'm very grateful that people still have an interest at all. But with that comes responsibility.
Yep.
People are always wondering, like, why don't you have bigger social media numbers? I don't get it. And like, I just don't put very much stock in that part of my life. I'm grateful that I have what I do have because it's more than a good majority of my acting peers, you know, unless there's some mega star, right? Obviously. But I'm saying like a lot of my acting peers who work pretty regularly, you know, even my paltry social media numbers are comparable to theirs, but like I just don't put stock into that. I don't I check on it. I use it. See, the thing is, I use social media more so as a tool. To me, it's another way to get something out in an express form, right? Well, for me, that's mostly work related. That's shows, that's seminars, projects that I'm a part of that I can talk about or that I want to talk about. There's a lot of stuff that maybe is out there that I don't talk about because I just don't. So there's never a need for me to certainly never a need for me to overexpose myself. because I see so many of the younger guys do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. But Paul, having said that though, because
And
you have
younger girls. I mean,
so-
OnlyFans, it's just like, when is
Oh,
that gonna?
it's a wild. That's become, yeah, what a wild time.
yeah, that's
Imagine the years going forward, and it's like, oh look, there was Grandma on OnlyFans. You know, like,
Yeah, oh, look at that. When grandma's pussy was tight and just, oh, well, she
yeah.
was coming up at this time, but she was about mid-range, big Montana.
yeah.
Now it's okay. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's bad. But like speaking of which, though, because you've accumulated such a wealth of wisdom, Paul, would you ever consider doing a book just of thoughts and opinions and things like that? Maybe for
It's been in the works for several years. Um, I have I have notebooks and whatever filled with notes. I have notes on dead computers. Uh, it's so scattered right now.
yeah.
The short answer is yes.
Mhm.
It will happen at some point. I think the mistake was that I read Charlie Chaplin's autobiography, and the thing was, like, he wrote it himself, and it's it's upwards of like 1,000 pages or something. I mean, and he wrote the whole thing himself, right? And he's one of my heroes. We share a birthday. He will always be of the highest of my inspirations. And so it got in my head that I was like, well, I can't use a ghostwriter. I can't, it needs to be as detailed as it can be. Mind you, I don't know what substances Charlie had back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, but I'm sure he took his number of hits and falls. Probably not as comparable, probably a different way from my head trauma and forgetfulness. But he was definitely a more diligent note taker than I was, because that's how people communicated back then.
Yeah.
So I need to ease up on myself and allow myself to have help with it. But I certainly don't want it to be like any of these other books that I see out there that look like just quick cash grabs or some bullshit just to put some, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Something with some substance to it. Something with a little bit more,
Soul, man. Like, with some soul. I have boxes of pictures. I have so much that I would love to share. So much. There's so much that people don't know. So
be kind of
I
cool.
would love to.
We'll watch that space. And then in terms of your acting, Paul, before we bring it to a close, have you got anything on the horizon that people can check out?
It's been a rough year. I'm not gonna lie. I've had so many close calls, but I don't think there's anything new that isn't already out there. Don't be fooled by my IMDb, because there's quite a good number of projects. I'm like the word. I do need to put out a book on self-sabotage. It might just be one of the biggest chapters, or just a reoccurring theme in my book. But it's like this past week when we were in Canada, I was on this show with Austin Aries, and all I had was my pictures, my 8x10s, including like some headshots, because it's just like, oh yeah, most of the 8x10s that I have are either leftovers from signings that the promoter's like, you can just have the rest of those. Like, oh, sweet. But then Austin Aries brings out he's got this box and has like his book, which I did kind of call him out on one time in Peru. I'll just tell you real quick, because it's like the super vegan book, like, all this stuff. And he goes like, no animals were harmed in the making of this book, or he has like some little disclaimer thing on there. And so I went up to him at the show the next day. This is in Peru, like several years ago. I said, hey man, I read your book, or I saw the beginning of it. And I was like, what's this? Like no plants or animals, or like this is an organic book. So I was like, what did you make this out of? I'm pretty sure like animals were displaced when the trees were destroyed to make the pole. And he's like,
Right.
yeah, he takes his sunglasses off. You know what? I didn't think about that. You're right. You're right. I was like, what? How do you not?
That's true, man. Very, very true. Yeah.
But no, I pop up in some commercials here. There's a few car commercials that I might pop up, and I don't know if they're airing or not. There's stuff on. I will have to put out a post of these films because I honestly, a lot of them, I don't even know what the titles switch to. Like I'm in something called the Quinceañera Killer. I think that changed to something else.
Mm-hmm.
I did like 5, 6 Christmas movies last year. Last year was really good. This year is not so good.
Yeah.
I'm still delusional, and I still fight for roles.
Yeah.
I'm not above auditioning. That's all I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I do is audition.
Yeah. That's right.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Every audition to me is a dark match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
never know. You never know what's going to come from it. It is.
And I have fun with it. I was an actor before I was a wrestler. So I just really love doing it. I just love doing it. I wish I could really fully support myself doing it all the time. Some years are just better than others.
Yeah. There's a lot to choose from now, though, Paul. There's so many TV shows, so many streaming platforms. I mean, it's like I can only imagine. But again, I think even with that, then you've probably seen a slew of people that just want to be famous now, trying to get in on all these projects now. Whereas before it was like, okay, that was a genuine thespian. If we to quote the true word, the thespians, the drama kids from school, the stage play guys, but
it's extremely similar to the wrestling business in that regard, in that social media and technology has blown it wide open. Reality TV is blown it wide open, so I might be the best actor, hands down, for this role, but so and so has 100,000 followers because he's an influencer that I didn't even know.
I was hoping that's where you were going to go with that, Paul. That's the truth.
Who does food reviews on the latest Pringles travel size, whatever the fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
The latest widget, review, like some in my world, absolutely useless horseshit, useless audience that they might bring with them. Like for example, I got great reviews. Like I was about to do this shark movie apparently that needed like a man for like the role, and they like go with some like college age, some with numbers, has the number, and it's like, okay, well, but nobody's gonna watch this shit, because it's the numbers they have is the numbers you're gonna get for that.
Yeah.
Because when you hire influencers and streamers and Twitchers and people who Twitch because they're meth heads, and you hire these dumb fucks that don't do it for the soul of it, they do it for the numbers. Well, the numbers they bring with them are about where you're going to cap out, if that.
Yeah.
So you're already limiting yourself, as opposed to discovering somebody or giving a chance to somebody who has the pedigree or has the training, or the experience. So there's diamonds in every rough. There's influencers that turn out. I imagine there's people that turn out and they're like, oh my god, where'd this talent come from?
Yeah.
I firmly believe that in any kind of field, when it comes to entertainment, if you're comfortable being in front of people, then there's something there.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I just hope and pray for everyone's sake that eventually that soul, that true art will come back into filmmaking. It will come back into professional wrestling, and it will seep into every facet of it. And we'll get that type of quality, not just
and that we don't end up turning into the end result of Wall-E, the Pixar film, which is another route that we could end up.
I can't watch that. It's too sad for me.
Yeah, I know because we're heading that route. That's why.
And then it's gonna end up like everything's gonna end up like 9. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, 9 was fantastic. Yeah, 9 was
fantastic. Traumatizing too, man.
I know, because once again, it's like we see it coming, and yet we're doing all the stuff to lead to it. Like,
exactly.
What is going on?
Exactly. Everyone's just marching toward it blindly. And they're like,
because someone's making money off of it right now. So that one person or their family able to live the best life while they terminate the extinction of humanity. Like, wow, okay, great.
I tell you.
It stinks. Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah.
We can look up all the good wrestling. We can look up all the good wrestling that we love.
Yep. I do say that, for us, mainly here at the house, my wife and I, we mainly just tune into YouTube. We find stuff, original creations, people that can speak freely and whatnot to a degree. And you get the truth. You can still find the truth. And that's the key. But, Paul, I definitely want to have you back, man, because I feel like we just scratched the surface on some of the things.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I would love to. Like I said, I try not to be long-winded, but when I instantly got the Iggy that you guys were straight up and cool, I was even telling them, like, I'm only going to do like half hour. I had a blast with you guys. I would love to talk more. I'm sorry I talked so much. I do get passionate about this stuff, that I'm passionate about. So
no, we are likewise, man. You're a kindred spirit. So for sure, Paul. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week on Masterclass. We hope that you've learned a little bit more than what you knew before you tuned in. And McCallion, I guess we will see them next week. Maybe Slade will join us next week.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Or he's on another mission. We'll see if when Paul returns, if he's in another dead mall or another cool location.
Oh, that'd be great. Maybe on location somewhere. I'm gonna do a little dead mall research.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Paul London, as your dead mall correspondent, turning out.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to all of you. We'll see you next week right
guys.
here.
I appreciate it, guys. Real pleasure.
Absolutely. God bless. God bless you all. We'll see you next week on Masterclass. Take care.